Alright, back again. I just pulled this fuel line off. I definitely got fuel coming out of this. What I'm running into though, I mean, I replaced this filter also. And obviously there's only one way it can go on. But I'm going to replace this piece of fuel line. I should have done it when I had the carburetor off the first time. It's short, but it's kind of crusty. It's got two different kinds of hose clamps on it. I guess there's nothing wrong with that, but yeah, it's got cracks in it. I'm going to go ahead and replace it. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that filter. Now, crescent wrench is probably not the thing to use, but I got one just here handy. I'm going to make sure that it didn't pick something up out of the tank and plug this filter up instantly, which of course is always a possibility when you're dealing with something like this. What it's doing the same thing it was doing prior to me replacing this fuel pump, and I know I'm getting fuel up to it where I wasn't before. Let me get a longer piece of fuel hose that I probably should have had prepared prior to starting this video. Anyway, just want to make sure that I don't have the fuel pump. I can put a pressure gauge on there, put a hose on the end of it, and then stick like a pressure gauge on the end if I really wanted to know if it was putting out enough pressure. But in this case, I think it's more of a filter plugged up. I did not put a filter prior to the pump, which is not common on non-fuel injected stuff. Now on the factory swap I did out there, trying to be careful not to call it an LS swap, because everybody's got their opinions on whether it's a true LS swap or not an LS swap, because it's not an LS 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, whatever it is. It's not those. And there's a lot of people saying, well, it's not a true LS. Well, it's LS based. It's LS designed. As a matter of fact, if you look at your sorry, I'm messing with this fuel line over here out of camera. So, but anyway, what I'm running into though is that every time I do something on that LS, I have not done any type of a video on that I actually was able to keep. It's a long story, but I had an iPad and I did several videos of me putting that engine in, and some of the stuff, not actually doing the mechanic work of it, I guess, but more of just showing everybody some of the stuff that I was running into. And so, I don't know what I did. I tried to put it on the cloud. Again, I am not I'm electronically challenged. It's the easiest thing to say. And because of that, I gotta be careful not to get this thing stuck in the fan. I'm just gonna set this here. And I'm going to crank the motor for a second and see what comes out. See if I'm actually getting fuel out of this thing or not. Forgive the noise, and I'm probably going to squirt this everywhere but in this thing. I think I left it here. Alright, I didn't see anything come out of that. Now mind you, it is a long piece of hose. Let me crank it just a little bit more. There's a couple of hang on. Oh, there it goes. I just didn't get it long enough. Alright, that's not a filter issue. So I had no trouble squirting that out of there. Boy, that stuff stinks. It smells pretty bad. Anyway, so what I'm going to do some video on that car. There are some people who may be interested in it for the simple fact that when I was on YouTube, when I was watching YouTube before I did the swap itself, I was looking for anybody, and I think I kind of did a video partially talking about this, but I just don't know if I posted it or will post it. But anyway, I found very, very little. Oh, got gas on the floor now. Anyway, I found very little on it. I'm not going to put that filter back on until I get this carburetor off. So anyway, saying that, well, as you can see, I don't edit very much, and the bad thing is that thing is falling on the wrong side of the car and I can't get around it. Anyway, I will do some video on that car, kind of showing you some of the ins and outs, because I couldn't find anything before when I was looking. I didn't look underneath, like El Camino, for instance, which I probably should have done. But on anything, I looked specifically from like 73 to 77. I went each year individual. I tried them all together. I tried all kinds of different ways to try to find if somebody had actually done any videos on putting in any type of an LS in one of those years of anybody. Couldn't find nothing. So with that said, I decided, well, I won't do a how-to video, but I'll some stuff I run into that was you know, that you just run into. Those car shows, I think I've said something about this here just the other day. Those guys are putting, you know, doing a swap in 20 minutes. It just aggravates me. I love watching the shows. I like seeing the stuff they do. But good grief, let's be more realistic. You know, it's a pain. I mean, it was. I know I've seen people do them on a budget. They've done them short. You know, well, I done it in a weekend. I done it in 2 weeks or whatever. And I've got a friend of mine who, him and a friend of his, did one to an old Camaro. Well, it wasn't old, but late 70, early 80, 81, whatever year it was. And they said they went through the wiring harness, just real kind of quick through it, and got done pretty quick. And didn't have any problems with it at all. So it took me a few days, and I still ended up having having some problems here and there. So anyway, let me leave the bolts out, drop some more wrenches. This car, I'm going to tell you, does not have any almost any places to put tools without them falling off somewhere. The nice thing about this thing, though, it doesn't have very many moving. There's almost no wiring. Of course, very few moving parts. It doesn't have power steering. It doesn't have power brakes. It doesn't have air conditioning. It's basically got an alternator, and most of the wires seem to go to that electrical part of it, and of course the solenoid. Outside of that, there is just not much underneath the hood. I got a harness over there. It's really small. Goes up to the headlights. The radiator doesn't have an overflow tank, so yesterday when I took it out to put the coolant, replace the coolant system, I had that radiator out, and if you take out the draining part of it, it wasn't very long. Probably, you know, altogether was probably 15 minutes. Most of that, like I said, would have been draining the coolant out of it. There's only 4 bolts holding it in. There's no automatic transmission coolant lines in the road, or like I said, AC condenser or nothing. So came out pretty easy. The back end just as easy. But anyway, I'm going to pull this carburetor off, pull the top of it off, and find out what I did wrong. Or what is still plugged up. So anyway, I probably won't film that, but anyway, I'll get back with you.